أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ذو مرة فاستوى وهو بالأفق الأعلى ثم دنا فتدلى صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين. I bear witness that there is one God, Allah. I bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, is the last, the final messenger of Allah, after whom no prophet, old or new, will come. And I begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I have read chapter 53, verses 6 to 8 from the Quran. And I translate it as follows. Possessing intelligence, he ascended. Here, he is at the utmost height. After he approached, he then humbled himself. Those are the words of the Quran, and this is Allah's description of the Mirage or ascension to God as experienced by the Prophet Muhammad. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. Now, the ascent of man to God consists in a spiritual journey. This is a statement that is written by Dr. Muhammad Fazlur Rahman Ansari, the founder-president of the World Federations of Islamic Missions and a former patron of the Anjuman Sunnatul Jamaat Association Incorporated of Trinidad and Tobago. If we agree with Dr. Ansari that the Mirage is not physical, and he clearly says that the view of Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, that it is a vision, has to be accepted as completely true. Why is the Mirage not a physical experience? First of all, it is said that the Prophet Muhammad was transported from Mecca to Jerusalem, the temple in Jerusalem. At that time, in the time of the Prophet Muhammad, there was no physical mosque in Jerusalem or physical temple in Jerusalem. In fact, later, Muslim historians have indicated that it's possible at that time Jerusalem was just a rubbish heap. The temple was filled with a lot of unused material and garbage and all of these things at that particular time. Secondly, there is no physical location for Allah. So how could the Prophet Muhammad go to God when Allah is not located in any physical area? In fact, the Quran says, He is with you wherever you are. Huwa ma'akum aina ma kuntum. Wherever you are, God is there. So Muhammad did not have to leave this world to reach Allah. God can be reached right in this very existence of ours. The Mirage is also not a miracle, for a miracle is only useful when witnessed by a large number of people who see something strange. No one actually saw the Prophet going up to the heavens. It was indeed his own personal spiritual experience that he related afterwards. In fact, the Prophet Muhammad would have had several Mirage, several ascensions. But to appreciate the spiritual experience of the Mirage, I want to compare two Adams depicted in two scriptures. But first, the word Adam in the Quran has two meanings. One meaning applies to every human being, because Adam in Arabic and in other Semitic languages as well indicates a mixture. And a human being, every human being is called Adam because he or she is a mixture of different minerals, different elements, different organs, and everyone has a physical self mixed with a spiritual self that we call the soul. And that is why human beings are called Adam. But the word Adam is also used as the name of a prophet and generally considered to be the first prophet of God. Now, let us look at a vision of two Adams as presented, firstly, in the book of Genesis, of the Jewish Tanakh, and of the Christian Bible. Let's take those two scriptures. They are identical except for their translations, but they are identical in Hebrew. And let us look secondly at several chapters of the Quran that also presents a similar experience of Adam. Now, whether these two visions of the Adam of the Bible, the Adam of the Quran, are legend or not, you may decide. But when we look at Adam in the Bible, we've heard so often that he was denied knowledge. He was not allowed to eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge. In the Quran, Adam is given knowledge. We taught Adam all the names. We give him all knowledge. In the Bible, Adam and his spouse Eve are expelled from paradise. In the Quran, Adam and his spouse would remain in paradise. In the Bible, Adam and Eve are naked in the garden. In the Quran, Adam and his mate are promised that they would not be naked unless they allow Shaitan to pull them out, tearing from them their clothing. In the Bible, Adam is blamed the woman whom God had given to him. In the Quran, Shaitan misled both of them and both repented. Adam did not blame his mate. They both took responsibility for the error that they made and they repented. In the Bible, Adam and Eve sewed fig leaves and made girdles for themselves. Later on, God made coats of skins and clothed them. In the Quran, Adam was not given clothes. He was given guidance. Guidance to make his clothes and to manage his other affairs in life. In the Bible, Adam is driven out from the Garden of Eden. In the Quran, Adam is made a Khalifa or supreme ruler of the earth. In the Bible, God placed hardships on Adam and Eve. In the Quran, Adam was given guidance through divine revelation. And the Quran says that whoever follows my guidance, no fear shall come upon them, no grief. Today, nowadays, humankind, the children of Adam's children, and we all believe that all human beings have descended from some individual that is called Adam. There is a commonality among human beings. And humankind today think they have made the world a paradise by controlling angels. Angels are the forces of nature. They have acquired knowledge and they've been able to harness the forces of nature, the wind power, the solar power, energy in all forms. They have been able to control the resources of the world and the potential that they have to be transformed into useful things that can make us all contented and happy. But unfortunately, the children of Adam, the people of today, refuse to accept guidance from revelation, which is also a source of knowledge. Knowledge of the physical world and the potential that lies in the minerals and elements and in the forces of nature that we have around us. It's not the only knowledge. Divine revelation is also a source of knowledge. Unfortunately, there's so many people, even scientists, or perhaps especially scientists, do not recognize that knowledge comes from God. And we may look at it in this way, that human beings have really enslaved the forces of nature. They have not controlled it or conquered it. The forces of nature outside of them, they have enslaved, but they are struggling to control the forces of nature inside themselves, within themselves. And this is why people are in enmity with each other. There is so much of wars and hatred and condemnation and violence and of people of every faith system and even of no faith systems, politics and economics. There is a mad rat race and everyone is for himself or herself. And this is why they experience also so much of depression, leading to suicide and leading to crime and leading to so many things that are inimical and injurious to peace and harmony among human beings. Now, if Adam of the Bible is the first prophet, then we have the first prophets fall from heaven, for that is what we are told in the Bible, in the book of Genesis. But in the Quran, Muhammad is the last prophet and he rose to heaven. So we are told of the Adam's fall from heaven, but we are told in the Quran of Muhammad's rise to heaven. Adam is kicked out of heaven. Muhammad is invited into heaven. The biblical first prophet Adam was made to suffer hardships, to till the ground and suffer hardship, and his offspring as well. And his wife Eve was expected to bear children in childbirth in pain. The last prophet who brought to humankind the Quran gave prayer as a means of reaching heaven for the believers. So rather than hardship, we are given prayer. Muhammad rose to heaven spiritually, brought back the concept of prayer, and the Quran says, Allah bi zikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. That is, your prayer and the remembrance of God can bring rest to your heart. And it says also, wasta'inu bi sabri was-salah, and seek assistance through patience and prayer. The biblical first prophet Adam had his nakedness exposed, but the Prophet Muhammad was given the garment of righteousness, the libas taqwa, as it is called in the Quran. The Quran says, O Adam's offspring, clothes are to conceal your nakedness and for beauty. But the best garment, libas taqwa, enhances your character. The Quran also teaches us, O children of Adam, let not the devil charm you, as he pulled your parents from the garden, tearing from them their clothing, that he might expose them their immodesty. Peer pressure weakens your self-respect, so you behave obscenely, justifying your indecency by saying, this is we thing. This is what our forefathers gave to us. This is ours. This is our culture. The biblical Adam was forbidden a tree. The tree that was in the midst of the garden, the midst of paradise. But Muhammad experienced the farthest low tree. It is called in the Quran, Sidratul Muntaha. The word Muntaha means that which beyond, there's no boundary beyond it. It's the furthest point that you can reach. Sidra is a word in Arabic applied, yes, to certain trees, but it also means to dazzle. And Sidratul Muntaha therefore means infinite bedazzlement. So much so that when the Prophet reached the pinnacle of height, the utmost height as the Quran says, he was so dazzled by the beauty and the nature of the divine attributes that he said, At-tahiyyatu lillahi was-salawatu wat-tayyibat. How beautiful. All actions, everything is so beautiful. And bedazzlement really means to impress someone very much because you are very intelligent and very beautiful. And it is when the Prophet Muhammad returned from the Mirage, he had that intelligence and beauty to be able to present the message of God to the world and convince the world that there is one God, a God that is indeed a beautiful God, as the Quran says, Lahul Asma'ul Husna. He has beautiful attributes. Now, the Adam of the Quran, as the first prophet, would have built the Kaaba, the first house of worship, teaching us how to pray. And indeed, the Quran mentions almost several prophets, and it would have been all prophets who prayed the same way as Muslims, that it was prayer and zakat was enjoined on Jesus and children of Israel and others before them as well. Now, if we look at the Bible, the Old Testament, the Jewish scriptures as it were, and see how the house of worship is supposed to be built. Moses was initially told to worship the Lord by making a simple tabernacle. A simple tabernacle. In building the altar of God, no tool should be used. Things must be used in their natural condition. Later on, however, we saw that the followers of Moses were instructed to build a tabernacle consisting of gold and silver and brass, of blue and purple and scarlet and fine linen. This is a place, so it said, to meet the Lord. And from that time, other times as well, places of worship are now elaborately and profusely adorned. There is music and singing and the perfume of smoke and incense rising from the birth of sweet incenses and flowers and garlands and so on, all to please the divine taste, which is also supposed sometimes to love the blood of sacrifices, especially when the sacrifice is burnt. That smoke, many people believe, goes to God, and sometimes were human sacrifices. In all of this, the real object of worship becomes lost. That people are fascinated by the beauty of the building and not the beauty of the being that is worshipped. And so the Quran teaches us that Allah is not in need of worship, nor does He require any praise and thanksgiving. He existed before we existed. When we worship God, when we worship Allah, we do so for our own good. And that is why the Prophet Muhammad has taught us that prayer, salah, is our mirage and ascension. That is how we can reach God, through our prayer. For whereas Muhammad's first revelation brought light to the world, Iqra bismi rabbika allazi khalaq, he gave light to the world with the first revelation of the Quran. But his ascension exalted the human being towards the source of light, Allah. So Allah revealed the Quran to the Prophet Muhammad, he followed it, and he proved that God is reachable through his Mirage. Now, Mirage is designed to enhance and to elevate the human personality. As human beings, our growth, our development, our progress, success, and survival lies in the preservation of the environment outside of us. But more important is the preservation and the conservation of the environment within ourselves, within our souls, within our spiritual selves. The Quran says, Alaykum anfusikum. You have a responsibility to your inner spiritual self. After all, this is your real self. Your body will live and die and return to the earth. But the soul is what ascends to God. Now, why did Muhammad have a Mirage? If we look at the timeline of the Mirage, at least the one in which it is well known, at the time it came, at the end of his period of the challenging mission at Makkah. He was persecuted, he and his companions were persecuted at Makkah. They faced a lot of challenges, a lot of atrocities. And his wife had died, his uncle had died. In this particular Mirage, he was also went to a city called Taif to find succor, and they stoned him. So this Mirage was the middle point of the Prophet Muhammad's mission, where he now had to leave Makkah and go to Medina. He was to move to a new phase in Medina with additional responsibilities. So whereas in Makkah he was preaching and facing opposition, in Medina he was going to preach and build a community and show how Islam as a religion of peace can bring peace to human beings. So his Mirage at this time can be considered as further training to face the new challenges ahead. It's the midpoint between Makkah and Medina. His stay at Makkah and his visit to Medina. He didn't know what he would face at Medina. It would have been a different circumstances with a new environment, with new challenges, In Makkah, he had faced his family just around him. In Medina, they came with armies. In Makkah, he had support. In Medina, he had hostility around him among people who are idolaters and people of other faith systems as well. So he had to face those challenges, and the Mirage was actually a further training, a retraining of the Prophet Muhammad so that he will face that new era before him. So Muhammad's spiritual experience of the Mirage shows us how to reach heaven. And when he returned from that, or he came out of that spiritual experience, he prescribed prayers. He was told to prescribe prayers for us as to how to remain in heaven. So the Mirage shows how to reach heaven. Prayer shows us how to remain in heaven. This is the beauty of the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad through the Quran that tells us that his spiritual experience of the Mirage is a means of us not only attaining heaven, but remaining in that state of happiness and joy in our relationship and companionship with Allah, our Creator. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quran al-Azim wa nafa'ana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikr al-hakim innahu ta'ala jawadun kareem malikun barrufur rahim. Alhamdulillahi nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina may yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa may yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu wa nashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa nashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma ansur man nasara deena Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam waj'alna minhum. Allahumma aghzil man khasala deena Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa la taj'alna minhum. Inna Allaha ya'muru bil adli wal ihsani wa ita'i zil qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkari wal baghi ya'izukum la'allakum tadhakkarun. Uzkurullaha yazkurkum wad'uhu yastajib lakum wa la zikrullahi ala akbar.